Family problems are widespread, but they typically don't escalate to the point of murder. Here are instances where children who committed familial homicide react to their sentences. In April 2021, Las Vegas was shaken by a chilling murder involving Sierra Housef and her boyfriend, Aaron Guerrero. The teenage couple received a life sentence with the possibility of parole after 22 years for the brutal murder of Sierra's father, 45-year-old Daniel Housef. The sentencing took place in Clark County District Court, where a coroner's autopsy report revealed the horrifying details of Daniel Housef's death. The father endured an unimaginable 70 stab wounds and was found burned from head to toe. Before the sentencing, a solemn atmosphere filled the courtroom as family members and the defendants had the chance to speak. Sierra Housef made a shocking claim stating that her father had abused her. However, the victim's sister strongly condemned the perpetrators, labeling their actions unforgivable. Expressing her anguish, she advocated for the death penalty, although it wasn't an option in this case. Daniel Housef's mother, dealing with the painful details of her son's death, spoke about how medication and counselling couldn't ease the pain in her heart. The emotional impact of the crime resonated in the courtroom as the family grappled with the tragedy. During the sentencing, Aaron Guerrero, one of the culprits, apologised to the court. The presiding county district court judge, seeing the profound sorrow caused by this particular case, expressed a desire to alleviate the suffering but acknowledged the limits of her role. The sentencing concluded a plea deal that Sierra Housef and Aaron Guerrero had accepted to avoid the death penalty, especially given Guerrero's age, 18 at the time. The teenage couple's relationship began in the summer of 2020, but faced opposition from their parents upon discovering their plan to leave for Los Angeles to continue seeing each other. The discovery of Daniel Housef's lifeless body on April 9th, 2021 inside his home triggered a swift and unsettling sequence of events. Sierra, then 16, and Guerrero, 18, were arrested in Utah just 4 days after the murder. Authorities found a disturbing video on Sierra Housef's phone, where the couple callously discussed her father's killing.
I don't know what to say.
Welcome back to our YouTube channel. Day 3 after murdering somebody.
Whoa! Don't put that on the camera.
It was worth it.
And we had sex a lot today.
It was worth it. I got plenty of sex. So I was payment for doing it.
And no bleeding this time. We got through that. We overcame.
Yeah.
So yeah.
The case not only shocked the local community, but also raised questions about the dynamics within the Housef family and the factors that could have driven such youngsters to commit such heinous crimes, as the courtroom proceedings revealed the deep pain felt by the victim's family, along with the disturbing details of the crime. Ultimately, Sierra Housef and Aaron Guerrero received a sentence that would keep them behind bars for a significant portion of their lives.
Commit robbery. Count 9, robbery with use of a deadly weapon. In addition to the $25 administrative assessment fee, the $150 DNA testing fee, the $3 DNA assessment fee, you're going to be ordered to pay $2,125 in extradition fees. You're also going to be ordered to pay $5,000 in restitution to victims of crime, and that's going to be ordered jointly and separately with the codefendant. On count 1, you're going to be sentenced to 48 to 120 months in the Nevada Department of Corrections. On count 2, you're going to be sentenced to life in the Nevada Department of Corrections with the possibility of parole after 20 years has been served, plus a consecutive 24 to 60 months in the Nevada Department of Corrections for a deadly weapon enhancement. That's ordered to run concurrent to count 1. On count 3, you're going to be sentenced to 72 to 180 months in the Nevada Department of Corrections. That's ordered to run concurrent to count 2. Count 4, you're going to be sentenced to 19 to 48 months in the Nevada Department of Corrections. That's ordered to run concurrent to count 3. Count 5, you're going to be sentenced to 19 to 48 months in the Nevada Department of Corrections. That's ordered to run concurrent to count 4. Count 6, you're going to be sentenced to 19 to 48 months in the Nevada Department of Corrections. That's ordered to run concurrent to count 5. Count 7, you're going to be sentenced to 19 to 48 months in the Nevada Department of Corrections. That's ordered to run concurrent to count 6. Count 8, you're going to be sentenced to 28 to 72 months in the Nevada Department of Corrections. That's ordered to run concurrent to count 7. Count 9, you're going to be sentenced to 72 to 180 months in the Nevada Department of Corrections, plus a consecutive 72 to 180 months in the Nevada Department of Corrections with deadly weapon enhancement. That's ordered to run concurrent to count 8. You have 555 days credit for time served. That is a total aggregate sentence of life in the Nevada Department of Corrections with the possibility of parole up to 22 years.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Mayor, with regards to Ms. Housef, she's asking the court if the court can accept the letter that she wrote out.
Yes, you can approach Mr. Stamp to the left side, copy the letter. All right, thank you. All right, thank you guys. That is not the conclusion of the calendar. I do have another case, which is yours.
Oh, okay.
Lopez?
Oh, yes.
Yes. All right, so that's the conclusion of that. Let me call her.
The unsettling events of January 19, 2013 left the South Valley community in New Mexico dealing with the aftermath of a mass shooting that claimed the lives of 5 members of the Guerrero family. The tragedy unfolded when 15-year-old Nehemiah Guerrero, the eldest son, turned against his own family. The details of the incident painted a truly distressing picture. Armed with a .22 caliber semi-automatic rifle and an AR-15 type semi-automatic rifle, Nehemiah systematically took the lives of his parents and 3 younger siblings in their South Valley home near Albuquerque. His parents being Greg Guerrero, a former pastor at Calvary Church, and Sarah Guerrero, who was actively involved in the prison ministry. The sequence of events began when Nehemiah shot his mother with a .22 rifle. Awoken by the gunfire, his younger brother, Zephaniah, confronted Nehemiah only to meet a tragic end from the same rifle. Nehemiah then proceeded to the shared bedroom of his 2 younger sisters, where he callously ended their lives with shots to the head. Then downstairs, Nehemiah waited for his father to return from his shift at a homeless shelter. When Greg Guerrero came home around 5 a.m., he faced multiple gunshots from an AR-15 type rifle with a scope. The brutality of the crime was worsened by Nehemiah's attempt to mislead his father's church community, claiming his family had died in an accident. Heading to church with 2 rifles in the van, Nehemiah shared a false story with his girlfriend about a tragic accident. When the pastor got troubling news about Greg Guerrero, he questioned Nehemiah, who then revealed the horrifying truth. His entire family had been killed. Worried, the pastor and a retired homicide detective from the congregation decided to take Nehemiah back to the crime scene. On the way, the detective sensed something wrong and promptly called 911. In subsequent statements to the police, Nehemiah shared troubling thoughts, confessing to homicidal and suicidal feelings. He admitted getting the firearms from his parents' closet, with his father supposedly teaching him and his mother how to use them. To make matters worse, Nehemiah even emailed a photo of his deceased mother to his girlfriend. His initial plan was to escape, commit more acts of violence, and eventually have a deadly confrontation with law enforcement. At 15 years old during the crime, Nehemiah was considered a minor, but under New Mexico law, minors charged with first-degree murder are treated as adults. However, due to legal restrictions, he couldn't be sentenced to death or life without parole. The victims, besides Greg and Sarah Guerrero, included 3 young children: 9-year-old Zephaniah, 5-year-old Jael, and 2-year-old Angelina. But the tragedy affected not just the Guerrero family, but also the wider community, where Greg Guerrero had been a chaplain for the Albuquerque Fire Department. Legal proceedings for Nehemiah Grigo's case faced challenges including mental health evaluations. In October 2015, Nehemiah pleaded guilty to 2 counts of second-degree murder and 3 counts of child abuse, resulting in death. Having spent the previous 18 months at the Sequoia Adolescent Treatment Center, hearings were held to assess his suitability for treatment as a juvenile. Extended family members supported these hearings, hoping for a resolution that emphasized rehabilitation. However, the legal course shifted in August 2019 when Judge Elisa Hart overturned the lower court's decision to treat Nehemiah as a juvenile. At 22, considered not amenable to treatment or rehabilitation in available facilities, Nehemiah faced adult sentencing. The potential sentence reached up to 120 years in prison due to the number of victims. Despite the chance of a lighter sentence and ongoing treatment, specific details remain confidential due to his minor status. In the end, Nehemiah Grigo was handed 3 concurrent life sentences, plus 7 years with credit for the 2,476 days already served, with a stipulation that he had to serve 30 years before any eligibility for parole. Nehemiah Grigo currently is being held in the Lee County Correctional Center, marking the conclusion of a tragic chapter in the South Valley community's history. Though during his adult hearing, Grigo surprised many by expressing remorse facing surviving family members and apologizing while acknowledging his guilt.
Spoke to his sisters sitting on the benches in the courtroom.
I am sorry for taking our parents and our sins. I wish I can take it back, but reality is that we can't.
He told them he is healed and is ready to move on and into the world.
I want no retaliation. I love you guys, and I want to see the best for y'all. And whatever you may do, and I do pray for you guys to have healing the way I'm having healing.
Aunts and uncles were also in the courtroom, some of the few people who supported Griego's release from jail.
Nobody's ever shown me that kind of mercy and that kind of compassion the way you guys have. And I'm so damn grateful for you guys.
He said something to his uncle that really angered his sister.
You've basically been a second father to me. You're the father I wish I had.
You can hear his sister start crying in the courtroom. You can hear her storm out of the courtroom in tears. Griego glanced at her but carried on. He then spoke to the judge after addressing his family.
Even the worst of us can make progress. Even the ones that have been through hell and back can still make it.
Telling the judge he's ready to go out into the world and make a better life for himself.
On November 1, 2019, the court ruled that Nehemiah would serve 3 life sentences, running side by side, for the killings of his siblings, and 7 years for killing his parents, which will run after serving 30 years. Due to New Mexico law, he is eligible for parole after 37 years.
Dylan Schumacher, a 16-year-old from Springville, faced a tragic and harrowing trial after being accused of intentionally causing the death of a 23-month-old child, Austin Smith, whom he was babysitting. The state Supreme Court jury, in a swift decision that took less than 3 hours to reach on December 9th, 2013, found Schumacher guilty of intentional murder. The chilling incident unfolded in the Springville home shared by Schumacher, his girlfriend and his parents in March of the same year. The trial painted a distressing picture of events leading to the demise of young Austin. Schumacher, who took the stand in his defense, admitted to losing his temper with the toddler just 4 days shy of his 2nd birthday. His frustration escalated into a series of violent actions, including slapping, spanking, slamming, and punching the child multiple times in the head through a pillow. The injuries sustained by Austin during this brutal episode ultimately led to his tragic death. The gravity of the situation weighed heavily on the shoulders of the Erie County District Attorney Frank Sedita III. While Schumacher testified that he never intended to kill the toddler, proving intentional murder, especially in cases involving the death of a child, posed a significant challenge for the prosecutor. Sedita acknowledged the difficulty of convincing jurors beyond a reasonable doubt that Schumacher had the intention to cause the child's death. In cases of infanticide, that intentional murder is one of the most difficult things to prove for a prosecutor, Sedita noted, highlighting the inherent challenge of establishing such intent in the minds of jurors. Despite Schumacher's admission of guilt and the gruesome nature of the crime, the legal battle was not without its twists. Schumacher's defense lawyer, Joseph Terranova, sought a verdict on lesser charges that would have resulted in a lengthy prison sentence but potentially spared his client a lifetime behind bars. Terranova argued for a more nuanced punishment, emphasizing that Schumacher acknowledged the consequences but believed the punishment should fit the crime appropriately.
I didn't mean to kill Austin. Ashley, I really didn't. I really think I did that. I didn't mean to hurt him.
Dylan Shoemaker walked into a state Supreme courtroom pleading his case, telling his victim's mother and the court he's remorseful for what he did. Shoemaker was sentenced Friday for beating 23-month-old Austin Smith last March. Before the sentence was handed down, Shoemaker and his defense attorney fought for the minimum sentence, 15 years to life.
I can't take back what was done. I wish I could. I would give my life for Austin. I loved him a lot.
Austin Smith was completely defenseless. That's a given. But there were other dynamics at work there, including my client's inability to either control his anger or frustration and his inexperience in babysitting.
Based on his short life now, what is to say he won't do this again?
Well, we don't know that. I think it's completely unlikely. It was a situational, circumstantial thing.
The trial concluded with the jury delivering a guilty verdict of intentional murder. Schumacher, tried as an adult, now faced the prospect of a maximum sentence of up to 25 years to life in prison. The emotional toll on the family members involved in the case was evident, with relatives of the deceased child expressing both grief and also forgiveness. Schumacher's sentencing, scheduled for January 10th, held the potential for a life-altering outcome. If the judge imposed the maximum sentence, Schumacher, incarcerated as an adult, would not be eligible for parole until the age of 41, facing the grim possibility of spending the rest of his life behind bars.
Record will show that you admitted that on July 23, 2013, in a phone call to your mother from the holding center, you stated, and I got a quote from the court reporter, "I am a 16-year-old blonde. Probably all I have to do is cry in front of the jury, and they're going to feel sorry for me," end quote.
Afterwards, Shoemaker was sentenced to 25 years to life behind bars. Shoemaker's defense attorney, Joseph Terranova, says he plans to immediately appeal this case. Both say the death of Austin Smith was not intentional.
The trial also revealed discussions about a plea bargain that Schumacher allegedly rejected. Terranova claimed that before the trial, his client had been offered a plea deal for manslaughter with a determinate sentence of 25 years with the possibility of release in 21 years. However, the prosecutor, Sedita, refuted the existence of such an offer, asserting that the severity of the crime warranted a firm legal stance. As the courtroom drama unfolded, emotions ran high, with relatives of the deceased child expressing their sentiments. Rita Little, Austin Smith's maternal great-grandmother, the maternal grandmother Tracy Smith, acknowledged the tragedy not only for Austin but also for Schumacher, recognizing that at 16, his life would now essentially be over. The courtroom scene captured a poignant moment when Schumacher, upon hearing the guilty verdict, bowed his head and looked at the defense table, described by his attorney as subdued. The trial of Dylan Schumacher, marked by its disturbing details and the complexity of proving intentional murder, concluded as a somber chapter. 17-year-old Tyler Hadley planned a murder that seemed like something out of a movie. He invited people over for a party without revealing that it would then turn into a nightmare. After taking 3 ecstasy pills, he brutally killed his parents, Mary Jo and Blake Hadley, with a claw hammer during the party. The smell of the dead bodies filling the air, creating a disturbing and tense atmosphere for Michael Mandel, to whom Tyler confessed. The motive traces back to Tyler's long-standing issues with drugs and his history of convictions for arson, vandalism, theft, battery, and injuring a child with his father's car, which he apparently used without permission. The breaking point was his parents trying to help him with his drug problem, leading him to react by taking their lives and solidifying his irredeemable nature. During his trial, the state aimed for the death penalty, but was impeded again due to his young age, so he received a life sentence, reconsidered in 2016 and reapplied in 2018.
I can apologize and make amends for the horrible acts I've done, I committed.
This apology followed Hadley's brother speaking in court.
This came after Hadley's brother spoke out in court.
Well, I guess what I want is for him to get the maximum penalty possible, which I understand is life in prison without parole.
Other family members who faced Tyler in court included his mother's niece.
I still don't understand myself and the reasons for my atrocious actions. I really don't know, contrary to what anyone else may tell you. I'm telling you the truth. For me to try and explain would be like making excuses, and there is no excuse.
That's my brother there. We loved him very, very much.
After the hearing, Tyler's uncle, Mike Hadley, said this experience was like a third funeral for him.
We'll never forget. We'll live with this for the rest of our life. He gave us a life sentence.
Tyler Hadley said to the judge that in the past he tried to lie and manipulate and lost the trust of those closest to him.
I'm sorry to my brother, my grandparents.
Tyler had the audacity to speak in court and apologize for his actions. However, his brother directly asked for the harshest sentence, undermining Tyler's apology. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe and leave us a comment. Tell us what you think about these particular cases.